Welcome to the Mander's Mindset Podcast. Here you'll find both monologue and interviews of entrepreneurs, coaches, healers, and a variety of other people, where your host Amanda Russo will discuss her own mindset and perspective and her guest's mindset and perspective on the world around us. Manders and her guests will help explain to you how shifting your mindset will shift your life.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Mander's Mindset. As always, I'm your host, Amanda Russo, and I am here today with a divine woman that I had the pleasure of meeting about 4 years ago when I walked into what I thought was just a yoga studio, but turned out to be so much more. And I am here with Jasmin Acevedo today. Hi, Jasmin.
What's up?
How are you today?
I feel good. How are you?
I'm good. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey and how you got to where you are today?
That's a loaded question. Hi, I'm Jasmin Acevedo. I am a Master Well Being Educator and a wellness entrepreneur. And yeah, that's the beginning and the end and in the in between.
Awesome. Okay. How did you become a wellness entrepreneur?
Well, I started my career in nursing about 10 years ago. I was a travel nurse all across the United States, and I came to find out that a lot of people suffer from chronic illness, and our system in Western medicine is basically designed to put a Band-Aid over a lot of diseases, illnesses, and preventable causes. So I kind of dug deeper into what that meant for me and if there was a solution for it. And it was leading me into preventative care and then root cause healing and then all these things and then self-esteem and self-love and learning how to find myself. So that is kind of how I got into the whole role of wellness educator. I've always loved to educate people. That's what I do in my career. And I really wanted to get down to the bottom of things and find the solution to prevent diseases and illnesses from happening in the first place. And then I stumbled upon yoga and the study of higher consciousness and all of the things that make my heart just sing and dance.
That's beautiful. How did you stumble upon yoga?
I wanted to, so in 2019, I wanted to start a women's health center, and I didn't know what that looked like, what that meant. So I got into healing and womb healing and all of the things. And then I stumbled upon yoga because I had a baby and I was postpartum and I was in the gym a lot and even during my pregnancy. And after that, I wanted to heal and it was a traumatic birth for me. And I was trying to find a solution. How do I heal? So I stumbled upon postpartum healing, which led to pelvic floor exercises, which led to yoga. And then I went into yoga after having my son because a new me was born. And I just felt there was something missing that I wanted to find myself. So the short answer is I stumbled upon yoga because I was looking for somewhere to, how do I find myself? And when I took this yoga class, it completely changed my life, my outlook on life, how I view myself and others around me and the earth. And that's how we got here.
How would you say it changed how you viewed all those things?
I think that I've always been a woman that has been goal-oriented my whole life. I knew I wanted to go to the best high school, go to college, have my career, do all the things, have a house, have a baby, and, you know, all these orders that we think that's what's best for us. And then when I started studying yoga, I realized that I had a bigger purpose And so now I'm more purpose driven, and everything I do it out of love. Just practicing some techniques and developing new coping skills that led me to be more emotionally intelligent, and then have the confidence to be able to teach that to my community as well.
Did something help you gain that confidence to teach that?
A lot of things, actually. I think that when you want to be the teacher, you're also put in a position to be the student. So in 2019, as I mentioned, I started looking into what a wellness center would look like, and then how can I afford that, or what can I do to make that dream come true. And I ended up doing travel nursing in California again. I moved my family out there, and at the time, and around this time in January in 2020, my sister was pregnant, and she had a brain injury. She had preeclampsia and ended up having to get brain surgery. So I had to fly back down to Rhode Island across country and help her throughout her healing journey, which included postpartum, which including the labor and delivery. And then it also included alternative medicine. So when I went through that process, it really showed me that life is very short. Love is what really matters, and that community is so important, and combining Eastern and Western medicine was where the power truly was. So that was an eye-opening experience for me all around, and it helped to develop my confidence because I had to speak up. I had to advocate for myself. I had to advocate for my sister, for my family, and then even being a mother during that time, like my whole life fell apart in 2020. So I lived in California, and then I didn't. And then I lived in Rhode Island, and I was renting out my home at the time because I was away. So I came home to no home. I came home to no job. I had, my relationship had ended that night that I actually moved here. So all these things happened at once. And that was like the first time that I remember being in the darkest space of my life and figuring out how to get out of that space, and also having to lean on faith and really trusting and believing in God, and having no other option but to believe in God, as God within me, as a mindset, as a spirit, as all the things. So that really caused me to be more purpose driven. And so when I took this yoga, I was able to put all these things together and really listen to my spirit, listen to my intuition, and know that everything that I went through was setting me up. These big lessons was setting me up to transform my life, and then also help others transform theirs as well, without me knowing that it was going to be that big.
That is so beautiful.
Thanks.
So where did you go from there after January 2020, after all of that?
So my sister made a full recovery. Her baby was born at 29 weeks. She just turned 4 last week.
That's phenomenal.
And we rehabbed her. Like, we did everything because COVID shut everything down. And then I also stopped working as a nurse for a little bit, a nurse at the bedside, because I just felt it wasn't in alignment and in integrity with me, especially everything that was going on in the world and the way that we handled it. I felt like I didn't want to be in that space. So I focused my career more on preventative health, on education, on helping people take accountability for their health, and then seeking different ways to introduce health and wellness to our community. So from there, we opened up 4-5 Wellness. I say we, it's me and my son. I think he was one at the time. And I used my instinct. I drove around. This is during the time I'm taking care of my sister and everything. I drove around and I said, oh, I want a place here. It was like in the East Side or East Providence. And then the place was in East Providence. I went to look at it, and it had little like toy cars on the ledges. And my son loved toys at the time, little cars. So I knew that was it. We shut down several times because during COVID, crowds couldn't form during Christmas, during holidays. And I had no idea how to start a business. I just did it with passion. I did it out of my heart. And people helped me along the way, even down to like the floors that were done at the business. It was someone that, saw the value in what I was doing and said, okay, I'm going to help you. And everything just flowed in that way. And that's how we started to build community. From there, it was more refining my skills as a businesswoman and knowing, how do I do this? Do I need a team? How do I delegate? What's working and what's not working? So kind of like throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what's stuck. And towards the end, the yoga really started sticking because the yoga is a lifestyle, and that's how I like to promote Four2Five Wellness. It was lifestyle medicine for the culture.
That is amazing.
Thank you.
Wow. So, so much there. So what would you say was the most difficult part of starting Four2Five?
The most difficult part of starting it? I think figuring out, how am I going to get money for this? Like, how do I do this? I think that's what the most difficult part was. Everything else was out of passion. And like I said, I'm always goal oriented, so I always find a way. So that was the most difficult part for me.
Okay. I gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
And so from there, how did you end up where you are now?
You know what? I think that we start something, we have an idea, and then it turns into something else, and then it turns into something else, and then you want to really see, there's no answer, like there's no one way to do anything. And so as I've evolved as a person, Four2Five evolved. It started with my personal healing journey when healing wasn't even popular or mainstream. And then now it's me evolving in wanting to figure out, how can I serve my community and how can I offer myself in a way, or extend myself in a way that is going to touch more people. So when I think of success, for me now, it means, how many lives can I touch? And how can I live in my purpose while still living in integrity? So the question, what was your question? Like, how has it evolved, or how it's turned into this?
Yeah. How you got
I don't know. Like it just happened. It just flowed. A lot of, I don't even say mistakes, a lot of lessons and a lot of figuring out for me, what is it that I want and why am I doing this? And so as I grow and my mindset grows and shifts, I understand that I'm not confined to one place or one business model or a way of doing things that is expected. So, yeah.
I like how you mentioned there's not one way to do anything. I love that. I agree with that completely. In every aspect of life, even getting places, even as far as down to like driving.
Exactly.
There's multiple ways to the same destination.
Like you said, the same destination. So I feel like if it's your purpose, if you're not listening to your intuition, you might take these long ways, but you're still going to get to where you need to be. And so when you start following your intuition, it's much easier to get to where you need to be because you're listening. So that's, for me, it's always been that I know I'm going to this destination. It's just a matter, am I listening to myself enough to have to learn these lessons, or what am I doing? Or am I listening to everybody else and then still having to end up in the same space?
And is there anything that helped you listen to yourself more than other people?
Yeah, for sure. I think the people that I've met along my journey in Four2Five, I remember small little things that people say. I know for me, I'm a visual learner, so I can, or I can see my vision ahead of time, right? So I can see where I need to be. I did a course called Follow the White Rabbit with Take What You Need PVD, Cynthia, that you had on here the other day, Cindy Lopez, shout out to her. And connecting with people like that, people that are intuitive, really helped me, because at first I thought that they knew all the answers, that they knew everything. And so I would go for guidance, and they'd never really tell me like, this is going to happen in your future. They kind of like guide me. And as I started learning and paying more attention, I really didn't need to not follow them anymore, but I could trust my intuition more. So when I would go seek some consultation for Cindy, now it'd be for confirmation, because I already knew what to do. I already had the game plan. And then after that, I didn't need the confirmation anymore. So now when I go seek consultation from Cindy, it's we're co-working, or we're creating together, or it's a friendship, because now we're in alignment, and now I can tap into those things, and I'm more connected to myself. So following my intuition is just like the class that we took, following the white rabbit, looking at those clues and making whatever you want out of it.
I agree with that. That class helped me a lot as well. I loved that. Are you guys going to be doing that again?
I hope so. I haven't talked to her in a little bit, so yeah, maybe that'd be cool.
I think you should. Just a personal opinion. I think you should.
Yeah, that was really cool.
It was. Okay. And so you started listening to your own intuition more. And so now you're teaching at the Heal Room.
Mm-hmm.
How's that been?
It's been great. It's been a really good transition. Anna and Karen are great, and we all had the same mission of community in common. So my main thing was, I'm evolving, I'm working on my next steps, my next project, but I don't want to lose my community. And I still believe physical touch is important. So I wanted to be able to still provide everyone with a safe space where they can just come and just be. And the Heal Room is a perfect place to be able to do that. So now it's a wellness hub. And like I mentioned before, 4-5 started with me, but I feel like with the Heal Room and with everything else that I'll be doing, it's more of an extension of services and of building community. And I think that that's what it really comes down to at the end of the day. So when we come together, we can actually go farther. So that's my transition phase for me. So I love it. I still get to love to do what I get to do. I get to learn about sustainability and conscious living, and I get to be around other unique individuals that support the same missions.
That's beautiful. When you mentioned that you would come together, it reminded me of a quote, and I'm going to butcher this. But if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go slow, go together, go group. Yeah. I love that. I'm big on quotes. That's beautiful though. And you've still been able to keep the full community aspect alive. So that's amazing.
Yeah, and we also I got to be introduced to new communities. So the Heal Room already had their established community. 4-5 Wellness had their community. So it's a space where they can come together and then get recognition and develop even more people. So
that's wonderful. That's wonderful. So how would you say it's been being an entrepreneur in the spiritual community?
First of all, I never labeled myself or knew I was going to be an entrepreneur. And I never really thought I was going to be seen as this spiritual person. So it's one of those things where it's like in your purpose and you can't run from it. Like once you open your eyes and you're like, all right, I accept this, there's like no turning back. So being an entrepreneur has been amazing because it's actually, I feel like it's a secret society, and it's actually a space for you to do inner work and practice spirituality and have the utmost like confidence and respect for yourself and your work. And being spiritual in entrepreneurship is actually a cheat code, because when I make deals and when I communicate with people, I'm learning that I'm trusting my instincts and I'm setting boundaries and I'm doing all those places from my heart and not my ego. And I feel like in society, we as a collective do a lot of things from ego and greed. And so as I am living and as an entrepreneur, I am practicing like maybe conscious entrepreneurship and being more aware, but also holding my boundaries and knowing my value and what I deserve. So it's been an interesting space to be in.
I can imagine. How has it been transitioning from nursing to being a spiritual entrepreneur?
I think I'm always going to be a nurse. It's just like in me, and it's not my downfall, but it's always there. So if I'll never fail, I can't fail. I still already have my career. Nursing is so beautiful because you can do whatever you like with it, as long as you know how to move using it. So those are skills that I have for life. So even now, as I'm in this transition space, I have decided to, after 5 years or 4 years, going back to the bedside, and seeing how that looks for me. And it's funny because this is the first time the first time I worked in a nursing home was 10 years ago. So before, after my nursing home experience, I worked in acute medical surgical, so in the hospitals. Then I was a travel nurse and I did school nursing. I did all the nursings that you can think of. But recently I dipped into going into nursing homes as like a travel nurse locally. And when I first came, the first thing that I knew what to do, I charged my worth. So my income tripled. So when I was a little girl, like 10 years ago, I would settle for anything. This time I said, no, I'm not going in unless I'm getting paid X amount. After that, the other thing that has changed for me is being grounded enough in myself and in my energy that I can go into these systems and I know that my presence is going to help my patient. Before, I felt very helpless. I felt like I had to follow all these rules. Now I really feel like I'm there learning from older people. I feel like we don't respect older people and their wisdom in this country as much as we do in other places. So when I go into these nursing homes, I'm learning and I'm looking forward to being there. And I spend extra time with them and I ask them, I remember asking this 10 years ago and now I'm still asking it to the ladies and the husbands. I ask, how do you know this person was the one? And then, they'll get the twinkle in their eye and then they'll tell the story or asking them about their life. So it's been really, for me, it's been a gift to be able to go back to where I came from, where I started, and be able to do it again with grace, with gratitude, and with honor. So yeah, it's been a really good experience.
That's great. I love how you mentioned it's something that will always be a part of you, because I relate to that, not in terms of nursing, but in terms of paralegal, even though I'm in this transition phase as well of my life. It's just something that certain things you learn, certain ways about you, certain aspects that you will just always have about you. And I think that is so beautiful that you ask them in-depth questions like that.
Yeah, it's fun. Because I want to know. I'm just learning.
I get that. That's beautiful.
Thank you. And I'm working in spaces that I want to work in. And so in this particular space, I really love how, the staff treats each other in how the patients treat each other and how we treat them and even their families. Like it's a community as well. So going back to that community aspect, it's so important to have.
Wow, I agree. Have you always been big on community since you were like growing up?
No.
Your face when I said that.
Really honest, no. I've always been that girl that just does whatever she wants. Like I fit in wherever I go. It's I'm not asking to fit in, you know, like I make friends with anybody. A lot of my friends are all from different friends groups. I don't have like one specific friends group that I stick with. But a lot of my friends are for life. So when I started business, someone taught me that you need to build community, and that's how you build brand loyalty, and that ties into everything. So that's why I think community is important, because there's a certain culture. So when you want to change the world or you're on a mission, you want to make sure that your cause is followed, right? So how do you do that? You create a culture, and to create a culture, you need a community to do it.
Okay. And so when did you realize the importance of community?
When I was talking to that person and they were giving me business advice, and that came up, and I didn't realize that that's what I was doing, and I didn't realize that the support that I was getting was creating community. Someone told me also, like I said, I remember little things throughout my journey. I started with her. We did an event called Soul Power in 2020 when it was at Roger Williams Park, and I think we ended up having like 70 people attend our first one, and then 70 people or 100 people attend our second one. And it was a combination of yoga, meditation, and mindfulness at the park. It was yoga at the park in a moment where people were in a lot of distress because of COVID, and then also racial disparities that were going on in our country at the time. And I didn't know how to do yoga at the time. It really made me nervous because I was so focused on the poses. So I didn't understand why she wanted me to do it, because I didn't know what I was doing. But she told me, you have the power to bring people together. And that kind of always stuck with me. And so now when I'm walking in my purpose, I know like my power is to bring the people together. And it makes sense because how I move throughout my whole life is learning or just gracefully bringing people together one way or another.
Okay. It's interesting to me that you say you were so focused on the poses in yoga, because I was the same way when I first started doing yoga. I was very fixated, per se, on I'm not doing this the right way. This isn't the right motion. My body should be moved this way. Constantly looking at other people to see if I'm like, is my form the same as theirs? But eventually learning that's not the point of yoga.
Exactly.
Like, yoga is supposed to calm you down, and I was getting more worked up because I felt like I was doing it quote unquote wrong.
Yeah. Even when I started my practice, we would hold like yin is when you're still in one pose. And I would get so aggravated and triggered, or the teacher would trigger me, and then come to find out everything is reflecting back to you. We do the yoga movements to develop discipline, and then to focus on moving our body so that by the time we're tired out, we can focus on our meditation. And yoga actually means union, also known as community. So it all comes together in that way.
I never thought about union. I know that yoga means union, but I never thought about union in terms of community.
Yeah.
Wow. Very similar in terms of words. That's true. Wow. The more you know. So, okay. And I'm curious, would you say there's any misconceptions in the spiritual community?
Yeah, I think there's a lot. I feel like and with anything mainstream, right? And that kind of defeats the purpose. I feel like, for me personally, I am a spiritual person, but to me that means spiritual means believing in something higher than you. So whether you call that God, the universe, whatever religion, you're still believing in something higher than you. So to be a spiritual person to me means to believe in something that's higher than you and to follow moral code and ethical codes, which is in all religions, which say in Catholics, it's the 10 Commandments. It's the rules that we follow to be good humans. But when we put these labels on it, there's, more misconceptions. And then when people, they look at you crazy, like, oh my gosh, you practice rituals, or you do these things, you're doing witchcraft. And it's like, no, we do rituals every day. We do routines every day. We choose our words and put spells on ourselves every day. So I think that spirituality is just being more conscious of what you're putting into your body, what you're reading, what you're listening to, who you surround yourself with. And sometimes we miss that point. And it's really all about vibration and what radio station you're tuned into, what's your frequency, and why isn't it matching with mine? And to ever think that we're above anyone because we're more spiritual is really trash, because we've all been there, and you can always go down. You never know. And also part of spirituality is realizing you think you know everything, but you don't really know anything. So
that is so true. I love how you mentioned a lot of people will think you're doing witchcraft with rituals and spells, and I relate to that. I relate to that so much. When I first started getting much more spiritual, after ayahuasca, after all different things, I even had family members ask me if I was in a cult.
yeah.
You ever have anyone ask you that?
Yeah, that's a running joke. Yeah, it's no call. It's like you do whatever you want to do to be authentic. You know what I mean? And I guess that's the point for me, is teaching people how to be their authentic self. I'm not asking you to do things the way I do. I'm teaching you new coping skills, and from there you can choose to do what you like with them. And that is evidence-based, whether people want to see it or not. Or if you want to look at it in a woo-woo way, that's fine too, but we're still having to move through this life in one way or another. And the things that I do practice are making sure that I am my purest and that I'm showing up in light. And a lot of times we don't realize that trauma lives in our body. So how can I, make myself lighter so I can do what I need to do? I do believe in karma, and I just really try my best every day. It's not always perfect, but I try to pour myself into the world every single day so that what I need and what's for me will be able to reach me. So that's how I view my spirituality.
I get that. And I love how you kind of touched upon you're trying to show other people coping skills, and what works for you might not work for somebody else. And I try to emphasize that with everything. Just because a certain thing I do has helped me, or I've done has helped me, might not help you. It might not be for you. Everybody's different in what works for them.
Exactly.
But has anyone ever asked you if you were in a cult? I'm curious.
Someone I know jokes like, "Oh, you and your cult," and they don't understand. But then after those jokes happen, then they want to find out, like, what are you actually doing there? Because I'm seeing that you're actually getting all the things that you're needing. Like, what are you doing? What is that glow? Why is everyone around you glowing? So, first people, they'll laugh at you, they'll talk down about it, and then they'll ask, what are you doing? Can I join? And at this point, it's your responsibility to meet them with love and not say, well, I told you so. Meet them with love, because we meet people where we are, and we want people to extend that grace to us.
I agree completely. It's it's just always a little funny to me when I hear that comment, and then it does a shift. Because I never accused anyone of being in a cult, but but prior to, I guess you could call it my spiritual awakening, I definitely had judgmental tendencies and ego about even ayahuasca, for example. I've done it once, but my ex at the time, a few years back, wanted me to do it with him. And I even told him, I'm a paralegal. I would not drink drugs in the woods. Like, what do you think? Who do you think I am? And I said it in that tone too. And I think it's so important to take a step back and look at things from the full picture and not from a place of ego, because who am I? I'm no better than anybody else. And maybe ayahuasca wasn't for me. Maybe plant medicine isn't for some people. I completely get that. It's not for everybody. But it's still not for me to judge from an ego.
Right. Like for me, I recognize, those things are getting mainstream. I haven't done them before, but I really believe in them. Like you said, whatever works for you. So I'm an advocate in that way. If you feel like marijuana works for you, well, then try that as, a way to find yourself. If you think mushrooms or ayahuasca is going to work, it's not for everybody, but we also can't judge it. I do think that when we use things in excess or as a crutch, then they become a little dangerous. So everything can become a drug in that way. But I've seen, Native people, with plants, they're so sacred. So it depends on like your intention behind it. And if it's for you and if you're ready for it. So everybody's different.
I love how you said everything can be a drug. I so agree with that. Everything in moderation is key. And I think that's what a lot of people don't necessarily realize today. You hear ayahuasca, oh my gosh, mushrooms, they're tripping, it's all these crazy things. Caffeine, this can be a drug if you have too much caffeine, and it's all, too much of anything isn't good.
Yeah. I don't know.
No, I
can't really speak too much about ayahuasca.
No, that's just an example I have, because I did a full shift in terms of my experience with that, because I was so against it. And then kind of went through a spiritual awakening. And then 2 years later, I did ayahuasca at the same place that my ex had wanted me to go and do ayahuasca with him. Yep.
Sometimes people just plant seeds in your life.
I didn't think about that. I didn't think about it like that. I guess that could be true.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's true. Really making me think. Oh my gosh. So I typically end my podcasts with 2 segments. Mm-hmm. Have you heard of Jay Shetty?
Yes. 8 Rules of Love or something. He wrote the book.
Yes, he's an author. He's got a podcast, motivational speaker. Mm-hmm. I'm a big fan. But I started ending my podcast with the 2 segments that he ends his with, because I loved the information he was getting from them. So the first segment, and they need to be answered in 1 word, and it's the many sides of us. Okay?
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah. So 1 word. You just want 1 word from me. Okay.
First question. What is 1 word someone who was meeting you for the first time would describe you as?
Genuine, I think.
I agree with that. Number 2. What is 1 word that someone who knows you extremely well would use to describe you?
Unhinged.
I love that. What is one word you'd use to describe yourself?
Say love.
Number 4. What is one word that someone who didn't like or didn't agree with you would describe you as? Not like a random person on the internet that doesn't know you, but...
So someone that didn't like me, what would they describe me as?
Or maybe they didn't agree with you, your mindset.
Like, I don't know. I want to say, I don't know. Like, she thinks she's all that. Like, what's that word?
Conceited, maybe?
Like, arrogant? I'm not arrogant, though. Like, stuck up? Nah, I don't know. Something like that, something along those lines.
Okay. What is one word that you're trying to embody right now?
Sweetness.
Okay. Next set of questions is the final 5, and these can be answered in a sentence.
Okay.
What is the best advice you've heard or received?
Follow your heart.
Okay. What is the worst advice you've heard or received?
There's so much. Like something along the lines like you have to do it because like you're running out of time or something, like something based in fear, you know.
Okay. What is something that you used to value that you no longer value?
Oh, relationships built on needing each other.
Needing each other?
Mm-hmm. Like, you know, when you have friends, like you trauma bond with people, or codependent relationships, I think. Codependent relationships.
Okay.
I don't value them anymore. I think that I want people in my life that want to be in my life, that are adding value, and that are holding themselves accountable. And I feel like before I used to kind of connect more with people that needed me. And I don't want to do that anymore.
Okay. If you could describe what you would want your legacy to be if someone was reading it, what would you want it to say?
I would say I want love to be my legacy. Like real love.
Okay. Last question. If you could create one law in the world that everyone had to follow, what would it be?
A law?
Mm-hmm.
You can't lie.
And how are you proving this law?
I don't know. You didn't. That wasn't part of the question.
I was just curious. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Nobody can lie?
Nope. You gotta tell the truth at all times. Right? Okay. That's scary, right?
that is a little scary. You can tell by my face. Okay. Now, is there anything I didn't ask or anything you want to share with the listeners? Anything else? No pressure if not.
No what?
No pressure if not.
I just thank you for being here. I'm so proud of you. I see you. I'm so happy that I met you. And I remember like you walking into class and not knowing where you wanted to go, to looking at you now and just being so confident in yourself. It's really amazing to watch.
Oh,
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I would want my listeners to know that follow your heart, live your purpose, walk in your authenticity, whatever that looks like for you, and have fun and just live a sweet life. And yeah, I'm going to continue teaching and educating, and I'm excited. I wish I could share what's next, but it's not time. So with that being said, save this. And yeah, maybe I'll come back on when it's time to share.
yes, I would love that. I would absolutely love that. And where can the listeners connect with you or find you?
Right now, nowhere.
That's okay.
I'm very low key right now to myself, but you can find me at the Heal Room. I am going to change this week, but my IG is still at Four2Five Wellness. But just follow the Heal Room for now, and you'll see more of me.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you speaking with me. And I would absolutely love to have you on again when this project is finished.
Thank you.
Thank you. In case no one told you today, I'm proud of you. I'm rooting for you. And you got this. As always, if you enjoyed the show, I would really appreciate it if you would leave me a 5-star rating, leave a review, and share it with anyone you think would benefit from this. And don't forget, you are only one mindset shift away from shifting your life. Thanks, guys. Until next time.